4:14 hours on February 27, 2026, the heart of the Russian Air Force is scheduled to stop beating. In exactly 87 seconds, the Irkutsk Aviation Plant, the high-tech cradle of the Su-30SM2 fighter jet, is going to become a $2 billion scrap heap, not because of a NATO airstrike and not from a missile launched thousands of miles away. This is a pack of 15 FPV drones that cost less than a used Honda Civic, launched from the back of two beat-up civilian trucks idling just 10 miles from the factory gates. It has been 4 years since the invasion began, and the Kremlin has spent the winter trying to freeze Ukraine into submission with waves of Iskander missiles. But Ukraine are interested in neutralizing the heart of the Russian Air Force. Putin thinks his Su-30 factory is a fortress. Ukraine is about to prove it's just a target waiting for a delivery. The anniversary gift for the Kremlin is about to be released, and by the time the first Russian radar operator realizes he's under attack, the most advanced fighter jets in the world will already be scheduled for the scrap heap. The party is about to start, and Moscow just provided the venue. For 45 hours. The Siberian taiga is a cathedral of ice, and the two civilian trucks crawling along the Angara River road are its only occupants. Behind the wheel of the lead vehicle is a Ukrainian operative disguised as a local logistics contractor, having passed through multiple FSB checkpoints using forged military transit permits. The trucks pull into a deep valley, a natural radar shadow where the surrounding ridges block the line of sight from the Irkutsk Northwest S-400 batteries. This is the designated launch site. With a remote command, the wooden roof of the lead truck's cabin slides open. One by one, 15 FPV drones lift off into the freezing mist. At minus 38 degrees Fahrenheit, physics is the primary enemy. Most commercial lithium polymer batteries would turn into useless bricks in seconds at this temperature, but these drones are wrapped in custom-engineered aerogel blankets with internal heating elements. They aren't flying like toys, they are screaming across the snow at 180 miles per hour, staying just 130 feet above the river's frozen surface. The tactical advantage of the Siberian winter is brutal. The extreme cold creates a dense air effect, allowing the drone rotors to generate massive lift, while the sub-zero landscape provides a perfect thermal backdrop. Because the drones are equipped with thermal cloaking skins, they don't show up as hotspots against the frozen river. They are essentially invisible to Russian infrared sensors. They move through this valley, using the deep trench of the Angara River as a high-speed stealth highway. They are 15 guided daggers moving through a blind spot the Kremlin never thought to cover. For 52 hours. The electronic silence of the Siberian dawn is shattered. At the Irkutsk Northwest military site, the 92 N6E gravestone radar belonging to the S-400 system begins a frantic rotation. Its high-frequency sensors are cutting through the frozen mist, but the minus 38-degree air creates a unique atmospheric density that generates massive amounts of radar clutter. On the perimeter of the Irkutsk Aviation Plant, two Pantsir-S1 point defense units surge to life. These are $12 million insurance policies designed to protect the Kremlin's most valuable assets. Each unit is armed with 12 57E6 surface-to-air missiles and twin 30mm autocannons capable of firing 5,000 rounds per minute. The Russian commanders finally identifying the low-altitude threats authorize an immediate engagement. To them, this looks like a target practice exercise. The first 57E6 missile leaves the rails in a plume of white fire, accelerating to Mach 3 in under 2 seconds. It impacts the lead FPV drone at a distance of 4 miles, vaporizing it instantly in a spray of plastic and lithium. A second missile finds its mark moments later, shredding another drone into confetti. In the Russian command bunker, the operators cheer, believing they have neutralized a standard, uncoordinated attack. They think the Siberian sanctuary remains impenetrable. However, they are about to learn that they aren't fighting a standard formation. As the remaining 13 drones cross the 3-mile mark, they activate their AI flock intelligence. Using a decentralized mesh network, the drones stop behaving like individual aircraft and start acting like a single panicked organism. They begin to mimic the flight patterns of a flock of starlings, splitting, weaving, and executing random 3-dimensional maneuvers. This is a nightmare for the Pantsir-S1 fire control computers. The system is designed to calculate a lead pursuit solution for a predictable target, but every time the computer locks on, the drones have already changed their vector. The twin 30mm cannons begin to spray the sky with high explosive rounds, but the drones are moving through the natural radar shadow of the river valley, disappearing and reappearing amidst the frozen mist. 4:55 hours. The Angara River is a tactical blind spot. Because the river has carved a deep trench through the Siberian plateau, the drones are essentially flying through a natural radar tunnel. Radar travels in straight lines, but the geography of the river valley is curved and jagged. By staying 130 feet above the frozen water, the drones are positioned well below the radar horizon of the S-400 system stationed on the higher ground. It is like trying to find someone hiding in a trench while you are standing on top of a skyscraper. No matter how powerful your binoculars are, you can't see through dirt. At -38 degrees Fahrenheit, the Russian sensors are fighting a war against physics. The extreme cold causes a phenomenon known as atmospheric refraction, where the dense, frozen air bends radar waves and creates ghost returns. Furthermore, frost and ice crystals are building up on the Pantsir's optical tracking lenses, degrading their targeting efficiency by nearly 40%. The Russian operators are staring at screens filled with static and noise. To them, the drones aren't clear targets. They are flickering anomalies lost in a sea of white. This is where the thermal cloaking technology becomes a death sentence for the defenders. Most drones give off a heat signature that stands out like a flare against a cold background. But these units are equipped with specialized insulation that keeps their internal heat trapped, while their outer skins are cooled by the very air they are flying through. Against a thermal background of -38 degrees, these drones are invisible. It is like playing hide and seek in a pitch-black warehouse while the seeker only has a dim, flickering flashlight. The irony of the situation is brutal. Putin has spent billions marketing the S-400 as an impenetrable shield capable of stopping stealth bombers and cruise missiles. Yet here it is, being bypassed by a swarm of plastic and carbon fiber that costs less than a single Russian tank shell. The Pantsir-S1 units are firing blindly into the mist, their autocannons chewing up the Siberian forest while the drones continue their low-altitude sprint. They are moving like drunken sparrows, hugging the riverbanks and using the dense taiga forest as a physical shield. The Kremlin's fortress in the east is being unraveled by the very landscape it was built upon. The drones are now less than 2 miles from the Irkutsk Aviation Plant, and for the Russian Air Force, the math of survival is rapidly approaching zero. 4:57 hours. The Russian response is no longer just automated. It has become desperate. Following the smoke trails from the first intercepted drones, FSB units order an immediate lockdown of all civilian transit along the Angara River. The decoy truck, positioned 2 miles behind the primary launch site, is forced off the road at a heavily armed checkpoint. As FSB officers approach the vehicle with weapons drawn, the Ukrainian operative in the primary truck watches through a remote thermal feed, his finger hovering over a self-destruct trigger. The mission is seconds away from a total security breach. Simultaneously, the Russian military activates the Repellent 1 electronic warfare system. This is a specialized electromagnetic sledgehammer designed specifically to neutralize drone swarms by flooding the 2.4 GHz and 5.8 GHz frequency bands with massive amounts of noise. The impact is catastrophic. 5 of the remaining 13 drones immediately lose their data links. Their video feeds turn to static, and they begin to drift aimlessly into the frozen forest. To the Russian commanders, this looks like the end of the line. They are preparing to report a successful defense. However, they are about to encounter a technology that ignores the laws of radio warfare. As the primary radio links die, the leader drone deploys the mission's ace in the hole, a high-tensile fiber-optic spool. Instead of relying on waves moving through the air, the drones are now physically tethered to the command center via a micro-thin strand of glass, 15 miles long. It is the ultimate tactical pivot. While the Russian Repellent 1 system is screaming into an empty sky, the Ukrainian operators are enjoying a perfect 1.5 gigabit per second connection that is completely immune to jamming. It is like trying to block a conversation between two people using a megaphone, only to realize they are communicating via a private underground landline. You can jam the airwaves, but you can't jam glass. With the link restored and the FSB distracted by the decoy truck, the remaining drones execute a final coordinated maneuver. Using their onboard AI, they begin to broadcast phantom electronic signatures, creating over 100 false targets on the Russian radar screens. The Pantsir-S1 fire control computer, designed to handle a maximum of 12 to 16 simultaneous engagements, suffers a total processing collapse. It is a digital, denial-of-service attack in physical space. The system begins to lag, its turrets slewing frantically between ghosts while the real drones, connected by their unbreakable fiber-optic tethers, reorganize for the final sprint. The primary launch vehicle slips away into the morning mist, leaving the FSB to interrogate a truck full of generic freight while the real hunters are now less than 6,000 feet from the Su-30SM2 production line. The countdown begins, 43 seconds to impact. The leader drone identifies a primary fuel storage bladder near the assembly line. 12 seconds. The drones drop to just 5 feet above the hangar floor, darting between parked support vehicles. A Russian security guard drops his coffee, his jaw hitting his chest as he sees a swarm of plastic and wires screaming toward the main assembly bay at 180 miles per hour. He doesn't even have time to reach for his holster. At 5 hours, 14 FPV drones impact their targets in a synchronized choreography of destruction. Each drone is equipped with a tandem penetrator warhead. The first stage, a precision-shaped charge, vaporizes a hole through 2 feet of reinforced concrete and the hangar's steel superstructure. The second stage, a high-density incendiary charge, detonates inside the pressurized environment of the assembly bay. The physics of the destruction are tan-cook. The initial blasts generate a massive overpressure wave exceeding 300 pounds per square inch. In a confined hangar, that pressure doesn't just break things. It treats the titanium airframes of the Su-30SM2s like they are made of brittle Lego bricks. Wings are sheared off, hydraulic systems are turned into shrapnel, and the delicate electronic brains of the jets are vaporized. Secondary explosions from fuel lines and oxygen tanks create a chain reaction that turns the $2 billion facility into a furnace. A column of black toxic smoke rises 2 miles into the air, visible from the shores of Lake Baikal. The strategic fallout is a death blow to Russian air power. In 47 seconds, Ukraine has wiped out 12 to 14 Su-30SM2 airframes, nearly 9 months of total production capacity. The Russian Air Force, which has already lost over 360 fixed-wing aircraft, now has no way to replace its losses. Putin's invincible aerospace industry just suffered a 30,000% loss on investment. For the price of a mid-sized sedan, Ukraine just deleted the equivalent of a small nation's entire air force. The lesson here is tan-cook for the Kremlin. Don't ever underestimate a nation that knows how to turn a river into a stealth highway and a civilian truck into an Uber for drones. While the FSB is still interrogating the driver of a decoy truck filled with generic freight, the real operation has been over for hours. The primary launch vehicle is already 50 miles away, disappearing into the vast Siberian landscape, its mission a perfect success. Ukraine isn't just surviving. They are rewriting the manual on 21st century warfare from inside Russian territory. They didn't need a peace deal, they needed a target, and they just hit the bullseye. What do you think? If you were the Ukrainian commander, would you have sent the decoy truck in first or used it to draw the fire during the final approach? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to see how Ukraine cleans out the next Russian production line, hit that like button and subscribe. Because for the Russian Air Force, the weather in Siberia is only getting colder. Bye for now.